With less than 2 months to go until the midterm elections, both Democrats and Republicans are suiting up for a fierce final stretch in the battle for the U.S. Senate. The Senate is currently split 50-50, but Democrats have a slight edge with Vice President Kamala Harris's tie-breaking vote. And that one-person majority has helped Democrats in a lot of ways this Congress. Most recently, it helped them pass the Inflation Reduction Act, the multi-billion-dollar climate taxes and healthcare bill. Democrats want to take control to secure more accomplishments on President Biden's legislative agenda, but Republicans want to take control to put a check on the White House as they keep trying to enact policy. Democrats are slightly favored to take control of the Senate come November, according to 538. Here are the 7 races we're watching that will determine the Senate breakdown. First on our list is the Pennsylvania Senate race, and that's where we're seeing Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman running in a fierce race against celebrity doctor Mehmet Oz. Fetterman, the Democrat, Oz, the Republican. In recent weeks, we've seen this campaign become extremely personal. Fetterman's campaign has really been trying to put a spotlight on Oz as a carpetbagger from New Jersey, a celebrity-turned-politician. And then on the other hand, Oz has been trying to put a spotlight on Fetterman's health. Back in May, John Fetterman suffered a stroke, which took him off the campaign trail for a couple months. This campaign has also been what some are calling very online. We've seen a lot of controversies coming from both sides. We've seen each side trolling each other, some would say. Just recently, there was the crudité controversy when John Fetterman's campaign resurfaced a video of Dr. Oz grocery shopping to show the effects of inflation.
That's $20 for crudité.
Then the Fetterman campaign came out and criticized Oz for using the French word to describe the vegetable plate. It's been a very unusual campaign in some ways, and it'll be interesting to see how this one pans out come November. Next up, we have the Ohio Senate race, and in the Buckeye State, Congressman Tim Ryan, a Democrat, is running against J.D. Vance, the Republican, who's the author of Hillbilly Elegy. This race has been close throughout the campaign cycle. Something we're seeing now is Tim Ryan, the Democrat, has been trying to moderate himself a bit on the campaign trail, trying to bring himself back to the center, and that may be because Ohio has been something of a swing state in recent years. It went for former President Obama twice, and then it went for former President Trump once. It'll be interesting to see how Tim Ryan continues his campaign. On the other side, J.D. Vance has been running on the Republican end. He's been really trying to tie himself to former President Trump in several different ways. In terms of fundraising, Tim Ryan is way ahead of J.D. Vance, having way more cash on hand. It'll be interesting to see, though, how this race pans out in the next couple weeks. Next on our list is the Georgia Senate race, and this is what some Republicans see as their best pickup opportunity this November. Who's on the ballot? Raphael Warnock, senator from Georgia, who was first elected to the Senate in early 2021 as a special election. So he's now on the ballot to secure his first full term in the Senate. Running against him, former football player Herschel Walker. And the race is close between Warnock and between Walker. Walker has been bruised a couple times on the campaign trail for different controversies involving children that he never disclosed, involving his business dealings. Warnock is trying to, like I said, get that full term come November. Warnock has way more cash on hand compared to Walker. He's been a very prolific fundraiser in his short time in the Senate. But one caveat worth noting is that Walker has the backing of former President Trump and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. He has strong Republican power behind him, and it'll be interesting to see how that can propel him forward with less than 2 months until the midterms. Next on our list is the Arizona Senate campaign, where it's another re-election race. Senator Mark Kelly, a Democrat, is running against Blake Masters, a Republican, for the seat come November. Now, this has been a very interesting race. Lately, we've seen Mark Kelly, who's considered one of the most vulnerable Democrats in the Senate, moderating his tone a little bit, trying to bring himself into the center of the Democratic Party. He's bucked Biden on a few occasions. He's criticized his policies on a couple occasions. Very interesting and not something you see every day for a Democrat running in a tight race. Blake Masters, on the other hand, has really been trying to tie himself to former President Trump. However, in recent days, we've seen him try to moderate his tone as well. He recently edited his campaign website to sort of soften his tone on election integrity in the 2020 presidential election, as well as abortion, which has become a really salient issue after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade back in June. Right now, this race is considered by Cook Political Report a toss-up, and Mark Kelly has a slight lead over Masters in 538's average of polls, but there's plenty of time to see how this race shakes out before November. Next up, in Nevada, it's another re-election campaign. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto is running against former State Attorney General Adam Laxalt. Laxalt, who's backed by former President Trump, has espoused his ideas that the 2020 presidential election was tainted by fraud. But for Mastos, she's raked in more money in the campaign thus far. According to Cook Political Report, this is another toss-up. Next up, in Wisconsin, this is a race that Democrats see as one of their best chances of picking up a seat come November. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, a Democrat, is challenging Senator Ron Johnson for his seat. Cook Political Report says this one is a toss-up. Now, Johnson is an interesting candidate. He's a controversial figure in the Senate. He came under fire for recent comments he made that Social Security and Medicare should be discretionary spending. He said things about COVID-19 vaccines, and he's also become wrapped into the House Select Committee's probe into the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Now, Mandela Barnes, on the other hand, he has been trying to tout his experience as a state lawmaker, as the lieutenant governor, also his family's ties to union organizing. But as we see in a lot of re-election campaigns, the incumbent, Ron Johnson, has far outraised Mandela Barnes to this point. Next on our list is the New Hampshire Senate campaign, and that's where Senator Maggie Hassan, the Democrat, is running against retired Army General Don Bolduc, a Republican. Bolduc, while he was not endorsed by former President Trump, has espoused his ideas that the 2020 presidential election was influenced by fraud. He even at one point said that President Trump won the race. But on the Democratic side, this is a particularly interesting race, and that's because Senator Maggie Hassan, back in 2016 when she was first elected, she won her race by less than 1 percentage point. But at the end of the day, Cook Political Report currently rates this seat a lean Democrat.